Every great mission, every organization, really, it starts with someone, right? An entrepreneur, a founder, someone with that real drive to build something new.
Absolutely, that initial spark.
But inevitably, those leaders, they hit this kind of hidden wall. It's this quiet tension. Are you letting go, or are you staying right in the middle of it all?
Mm. And the paradox is just brutal, isn't it?
It really is,
Yeah.
because the instincts that got you there, that, hands-on, got to control at precision, they fueled the startup phase.
Essential at the beginning.
But later, they can actually become the biggest things holding you back, real barriers to sustainable growth.
Yeah, it's that classic moment where your greatest strength suddenly becomes your biggest limitation. It's fascinating.
So that's what we're diving into today, this really critical shift, organizationally and personally, moving from being the planter to becoming the coach.
Exactly. And our mission here really is to help you, the listener, navigate that transformation. It's about trading that quick adrenaline hit of direct oversight
Yeah, the buzz of being in charge of every detail.
for the quieter but much more powerful method of empowerment. We want to help make sure the work you started can actually thrive and multiply, become bigger than you without needing you there constantly, day in and day out.
And we're pulling insights from some really comprehensive leadership material here. It's stuff that doesn't just look at managing growth, but actually redefines what success even looks like.
The whole metric shifts, doesn't it?
Completely. We're looking at fruitfulness measured not by how tight your grip is, but by how much capacity you're actually multiplying out there in the field.
It's all about multiplication, not just keeping what you've got. Retention isn't the end game.
Okay, so let's unpack these roles then, because planter and coach, it sounds like more than just a title change.
Oh, it's fundamentally different. It's mindset, it's goals, everything.
So the planter, that's the initiator, like you said. They pour their heart into the vision. They lead with that necessary hands-on approach to get things moving, planting the first seeds.
That's right. They're focused on the work.
Mhm.
But the coach, they're the developer. Their focus shifts entirely
To what?
to cultivating deep ownership in other people. Their main job is building up others' capacity to think for themselves, to make decisions, to lead without needing constant direction.
Ah, okay. So the planter grows the work, but the coach grows the people who then multiply the vision.
Precisely. That's the core distinction.
And this is where the source material really digs in, explaining why planters find it so hard to make that shift. It's often not about tactics, is it? It's something deeper. They call it identity overlap.
That's the crux of it. For the founder, the person who started it all, their identity often gets completely fused with the project. They stop thinking, I work for this thing, and start believing, I am this thing.
Right. I am the ministry, or I am the company.
Exactly. So when the time comes to let go, which is essential for growth, it doesn't just feel like a strategic risk. It feels like losing a part of themselves, a real loss of self.
Wow. And that leads directly to what the material calls the dependency trap. You can really see how that would happen.
Oh yeah, it's a tangible drag on the whole organization. If the founder is maybe subconsciously afraid to release real authority, the whole system can get paralyzed.
Like that classic example, right? A local manager needs, say, $200 for supplies. Simple decision.
Should be simple.
But because the founder hasn't clearly handed over that budget string, or maybe just hasn't psychologically let go of it, that decision sits there for weeks, waiting for some kind of sign-off.
And that is the dependency trap in action. The cost is huge. You have leaders further down the line who just stagnate, not because they're incapable, but because the system forces them to wait for permission.
They become followers by necessity, not by choice, always waiting under the founder's shadow.
Exactly. Initiative gets crushed.
Which brings us back to that need for a new metric. You have to consciously choose to measure your success differently.
It can't be about control anymore.
No, it's not about how many decisions cross your desk. It's about how much leadership capacity you're multiplying in others. Are you building replication or just retention?
But, and this is crucial, it's more than just changing strategy or org charts. The material really emphasizes that for this transition to actually work, to stick,
Yeah.
you need deep inner work.
Right, you can draw all the new boxes and lines you want.
But if the planter's heart is still fundamentally addicted to being in control, the new systems just won't take hold. They'll find ways around them, or the old patterns will creep back in.
I really appreciate that focus. It connects this leadership challenge to something deeper, almost spiritual. The sources mention kenosis. That's a theological term, right? Christ's self-emptying. How does that apply here, practically?
Well, it reframes relinquishment. It's not just giving up power. It's presented as a kind of spiritual discipline you undertake for the sake of others' growth. It's leadership humility in action.
So the founder choosing to sort of empty themselves of status or the need to be the final word.
Yes, that creates the space for others to step up and use their gifts. If you hold on to all the control, all the spotlight, you're actually preventing others from reaching their potential. Kenosis, in practice, might look like the founder deliberately stepping back from the microphone, even when they know they have the best answer, just to let a new voice be heard and gain confidence.
And this idea of letting go for multiplication, it's not new, is it? The material points to this pattern of succession being kind of baked into growth principles.
Absolutely. If you look at the core instructions for sustainable movements, like in 2 Timothy 2.2,
Entrust the message to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others.
that's the one. That verse isn't just about passing information. It's a mandate for multiplication. It implies at least 4 generations of leadership transfer. You're not just training your replacement, you're training people who can train their replacements.
So the goal is transmission, replication, not just keeping the founder's original ideas going forever.
Exactly. And you see Jesus modeling this constantly. He's the ultimate coach, isn't he?
How?
Well, he trained a small group intensely. Then what did he do? He sent them out. Luke 9, Luke 10. He gave them real authority and let them go.
There's a pattern there. Invest, empower, release.
And then debrief. He brought them back, heard their reports, coached them further. He didn't keep them tied to his apron strings, doing busy work for him. He empowered them to start their own work, trusting the capacity he'd built in them.
Okay, so that pattern makes sense. But for a leader today, for the planter trying to become that coach, how do they actually do that inner work you mentioned? It sounds hard.
It is hard. It starts with reorienting your identity, really internalizing the shift from I am the work to I am a steward of what God or the mission has entrusted to me.
Stewardship still feels like responsibility, though. How do you deal with that ingrained need for control, especially when control probably led to your early success? You mentioned confessing idolatries.
Yeah, it sounds intense, but it's about honesty. What is that control really protecting? Is it your status, your reputation? Maybe it's just masking a deep-seated fear of uncertainty, you know?
Uh-huh.
What if things go wrong if I'm not watching?
Okay.
Identifying that is a first step. Then comes practice. You have to practice trust.
How?
Start small. Delegate low-risk decisions, things that won't sink the ship if they go slightly sideways. And then this is key. You measure the results objectively. Did the world end? Probably not. Trust isn't just a feeling. It's like a muscle. It grows with repeated, safe experiences of letting go.
You learn that others can handle it.
Exactly. You build evidence that letting go is okay, even beneficial.
Okay, that foundational work is clearly vital, but let's say the leader's heart is getting aligned. Now we need the practical tools, right? The architecture to make letting go safe and scalable.
Yeah.
How do you structure this release without just causing chaos or reverting to micromanagement?
Right. You need structure. Governance guardrails, as the material calls them. And the first big tool is defining clear decision thresholds.
Decision thresholds. Okay, that sounds a bit bureaucratic. Like more rules. How does that actually encourage initiative?
Because it replaces ambiguous gatekeeping with transparent policy. Everyone knows the rules of the game. For instance, you might publish a policy. Local leaders have full autonomy for operational spending, up to $2,000 per quarter.
Ah, I see. So anything under that limit, they just do it. No need to ask.
Exactly. And anything over that requires, say, the coach's approval or maybe a committee review. By publishing it, everyone knows precisely where their autonomy starts and stops. It stops the founder from meddling in small things just because they feel like it, and it forces the local leader to truly own the outcome within their defined zone.
So the transparency itself is a guardrail against that invisible power the founder might still be tempted to wield? Smart. What else is in this toolkit?
The next big one is a delegation matrix. Often people use the RCI model for this.
RCI, what's that stand for?
Responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. You basically map out your core functions like planning the annual retreat or onboarding new volunteers, whatever it is. And for each function, you visibly assign who is R, does the work, who is A, owns the outcome, the buck stops here, who needs to be C, consulted before a decision, and who just needs to be I, informed after the fact.
Huh. I can see how that would clarify things, because without that, the assumption is often that the founder is R and A for, well, everything.
Exactly. That's the default. RSCI forces you to make it explicit. It pushes the planter to consciously distribute responsibility and accountability. It empowers the R to act, knowing who they report to, the A, and clarifies who else needs to be looped in, preventing surprises.
So you've got the systems, the guardrails, but the day-to-day interaction has to change too, right? That brings us to the coaching stance. The sources mention a 70-30 rule.
Yes, this is probably the most fundamental habit shift required. The coach needs to commit, truly commit, to listening about 70% of the time in their interactions with the leaders they're developing.
70% listening, that's a lot more than most leaders probably do naturally.
It is. The default mode, especially for a planter, is to tell, to advise, to fix. Here's what I did, or you should do this.
Right. Giving the answer.
The shift is towards asking questions that empower the other person. Instead of here's the solution, it's what are you seeing here that maybe I'm missing? Or what are the couple of options you've already thought about?
You're guiding their thinking, not replacing it.
Precisely. The material even lays out a simple flow for, say, a 30 or 45-minute coaching conversation, specifically designed to help the coach resist that urge to jump in and solve it.
What's the flow look like?
You start by clarifying the desired outcome for the conversation. Then you do a reality check. Where are things really at? Then you explore options and available resources. And crucially, you end with a clear commitment from the leader on their next steps. The coach facilitates, asks questions, but doesn't provide the answers. That builds ownership.
Okay, systems, communication. What about the symbolic side? How do you make the shift feel real to everyone?
Great point. You need rituals, structural rituals that publicly signal the transfer of not just tasks, but moral authority. You can't just change the org chart on paper. The culture needs to see and feel the shift.
What kind of rituals are we talking about?
One really powerful tool suggested is implementing by invitation-only leadership meetings for the founder.
Wow, okay. By invitation only. That sounds potentially awkward.
Yeah.
Does the founder just stop showing up? What if the team needs their wisdom?
It needs nuance, of course. The idea is the founder stops attending the main leadership team meetings by default. Their presence isn't automatic anymore.
So they only come if asked.
Yes. And critically, they're invited by the team for a specific, stated purpose. Maybe it's, we need your advice on this capital campaign strategy, or could you come pray with us about this difficult decision, or we need your help connecting with this potential donor.
Ah, so they shift from being the default leader in the room to being a specific resource called upon when needed.
Exactly. It removes that implicit veto power that a founder often has just by sitting there. It forces the team to actually lead, to hash things out themselves, and it forces the founder to show up in a serving, coaching role, not as the ultimate judge.
That changes the whole dynamic of the room, doesn't it? The team becomes accountable to each other first.
It really does. And you often pair that internal shift with more public commissioning rituals.
Like a ceremony.
Sort of, yeah. Public acts of blessing and handover. Think about symbolically transferring items. Maybe it's the keys to the main office or a special journal passed down, or even something more symbolic like a mantle or a stole in some contexts.
Something tangible that signals the shift.
Yes, in front of the whole community or organization.
Yeah.
It makes the transition real, visible, and ideally celebrated. Everyone knows who now carries that specific leadership authority.
Okay, so pulling all this together, the deep inner work, the governance systems like thresholds and RACI, the 70-30 coaching communication, these rituals, what's the ultimate takeaway here? What does this shift from planner to coach really mean?
I think the core message is that this shift, this letting go, it's not an abdication. It's not stepping back into retirement or irrelevance. It is actually the highest expression of mature, sustainable leadership.
It's the next level.
It's the next level. Leadership that truly lasts doesn't hold on tighter. It learns to let go wisely. Through clear systems, yes, but also through that personal spiritual discipline and those consistent coaching rhythms. You're ultimately trading this sort of temporary satisfaction of managing everything yourself,
right,
for the truly exponential potential of multiplication through others.
That's a really powerful way to frame it, letting go wisely.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for everyone listening, rooted right in this tension we've explored.
Yeah.
What if your true legacy isn't measured by the number of things you started or how big the project got while you were directly running it, but instead by the number of empowered leaders you multiplied? Leaders who can carry that mission far further and maybe even in ways you never imagined long after you've stepped back.